record. Sharing the screen. And here we go. All right, welcome everybody. This is Civil Chat. Thank you for joining us. I see a lot of familiar names in the participants chat. I see a couple of folks that I don't recognize, which is awesome. Love seeing new folks. If you've not been to Civil Chat before, this is your chance to ask questions. We answer them to the best of our ability, which I don't know, you get what you get with the ability of us with our abilities sometimes. But yeah, if you're going to ask questions, please put them in the Q&A section. If you don't put them in the Q&A section, sometimes they get lost in the chat. The chat is great for talking about things like, oh, I don't know, say how much snow you've gotten recently. Seems to be what's going on today. And yeah, so make sure you ask questions. If you don't ask questions, we're not going to have a whole lot to talk about. But I always like to start off with something. So what I thought I'd talk about today is, first of all, we have a new release for Civil 3D that came out yesterday. I don't have it installed yet because it just came out yesterday, and I know better than to install something like half an hour before you're supposed to do my presentation. And I just learned about it today. So I did not install it, but there is a new 26.2 update. So it's available. Go out there, play around with it. If you're curious what you get with it, I brought up the what's new in 26.2 release. So there's quite a bit for the drainage tools. So the drainage tools are pretty slick looking. I haven't had a whole lot of chance to play around with them in depth, but if we go in here, scroll down a bit, you can see that there's a lot of bullets for what's new in 26.2, right? You got IDF curves, so you don't have those hyetographs. You now can do an IDF, which is an intensity duration. Does that say intensity data frequency? Shouldn't that be intensity duration frequency? I think they have a typo there.
You do realize you can post comments to the help page and let them know something is wrong. At the very
Has
bottom of the
anybody
help.
heard of an IDF curve as an intensity data frequency curve? I've not heard that one before. But yeah, so there's quite a bit new here for the drainage stuff. Let's go back. There's some cloud updates. All right, so there's integration. Bug fixes, Robert is asking. We'll go take a look at the release notes. There are fixed issues. We have assemblies and sub-assemblies, Kogo points, some drainage tools. So there are some fixes, some feature lines, some gradings. There's always bug fixes. If you're looking for a specific bug fix, a bug, if it's been fixed, you'd have to come in here and look at it. But yes, they do always do bug fixes in the updates as well. Let's see, what else was there? The cloud updates. So I just want to click on it. All right, so there's the integrity and migration for Docs 3.0 and then there's some changes to the sheet set manager. So they're removing the sheet set for web and just using the sheet set manager now. I'm not sure exactly how that works with publishing through the web. Something we'll have to play around with at some point.
I was told the publishing for the web is kind of going away because it just wasn't working and you needed to have that up to use it. You had to use the Autodesk for web. So
yeah, okay, for yeah.
So it was an either or.
Right. So from some of the folks that we have that have used it, they really liked it because you could just do it and then it does it on the web and then you get a file when it's done. Yeah, and Adam says we'll have to use the AutoCAD for web to do the sheet set manager.
But look at that. Last month you talked about the Project Aware, and now that's talked about it in one of the upgraded features here. So you preempted this update in last Civil Chat.
And it's because I'm so good. I actually sent the recording of our last session over to the Project Aware folks at Autodesk and said, hey, we talked about this. We have some issues. What do you think? Never heard back from them.
Well, that's the reason for this update. It's 100% your Civil Chat recording to them, and that's why it says it right here.
Yep, exactly. Let's see. There's some new stuff in Dynamo. primarily it's, incorporating all the new drainage stuff. There's added the catchments and the runoff methods and some things like that. Miscellaneous enhancements. Let's see what we got here. So there's some alignment warnings, some feature line performances, few miscellaneous enhancements as well. So 2026.2 is now available, which is going to make my IT department super happy because we're just about ready to deploy 2026, but I've been saying that for months. So we'll see if this actually works this time. But anyways, so back to Civil 3D. What I thought I would do, so this question was brought up to me today or earlier this week, which would have been, let's see, yesterday.
I'm going to preempt this with, we're still buying time for you guys to put in questions. So please type your questions in the question and answer pod.
Yeah, and they don't have to be like groundbreaking questions, just anything will do. I have a tendency to be able to ramble quite a bit, especially when it comes to Civil 3D, right? But the question came up is somebody was wanting to do, let's see, let me just throw a block in here real quick. Symbols, we'll use one of these blocks. I'll just throw it, say right here. How sample line is this? That's 10 plus 0, 0. And we'll project that up to that sample line. There we go. All right, and project objects to view. Select the objects.
I do love your giant toe sitting there.
That was a little low. All right, that's a little bit better. Right. And so the label comes in with this offset and a source elevation. And what somebody wanted is they wanted to know, so this offset is relative to the alignment. And they wanted to be able to put in the offset relative to the sample line instead, right? So this particular block is at station, I don't know, we got 990-ish, right? And so they wanted to be able to put in an offset of 10 or minus 10 because it's before the station. And so they wanted to be able to tell it the distance from this section view. And so the way we do this is through expressions. So I got on the call with some guy and I'm like, I'm fairly positive we can do this. So I came over to settings, section views. It's got to be over here somewhere. Sample line, section views. Label styles. So this is where those projection label styles are. And in here we have expressions. Now, if you go into an expression, so if you're not familiar with expressions, expressions are the way to do math on stuff that you can then use in a label style, right? They don't return text. They don't return true or false. It just returns another number, which is perfect in this case because I wanted to get the distance from the sample line. So I'll go ahead and create a new one here. And this button here gives you all the properties that you can use in this mathematical expression. And unfortunately, you'll notice that the actual station of the sample line that you're labeling is not an option here, which I was really bummed about. You have the source station, but you don't have the sample line station that you're labeling. So unfortunately, in this case, I couldn't get that distance. So I don't know, maybe I'll throw this out to the world out there. If you know how to do that, I would love to hear it. Brian Tomasi, do you have any idea on how this could be done?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do not.
Yeah, I don't either.
We
Without, I mean, we might have to go, you might
similar
have to do it like in Dynamo or something like that. But just out of the box, I don't know of a way to do that. But I thought I would talk about expressions a little bit more because expressions are fun. So expressions can really be used in two different locations when you're using labels. First, they can be replace the text, right? So the source elevation, is it still listed at 0? Interesting. I moved it up. Maybe it's because the block is still at 0. I don't know. What's the elevation of the block at? Yeah, Z is, what should it be? 610-ish. Let's make that 610. Yeah, there we go. So now you can see that the elevation is set to 610. But perhaps I don't want to see the first 2 digits of the elevation, right? So I work in Colorado. We have elevations in the, in the thousands. If you go up to Leadville, they're in the 10,000s, right? And maybe we don't want to put in, 5,280 and then 5,281 because everything here is 5,000, right? Or at least for this project. It's never going to go into the 4,000. It's never going into the 6,000. So they're just digits that are kind of useless for most cases. So I want to be able to drop that first digit. So this is where you can do expressions. This is where we do math. So how do we go about doing that? Well, I'm going to go ahead and create an expression here, and we're going to drop the 6 off of this. So I'll just call this a truncated elevation. Put a nice description in here. This will drop off the blah, 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 blah. And the expression area is where you actually do the math. Now, there's 2 things you can put in here. First, you can put in a property, right? So this button here, all the different properties of whatever thing it is you're trying to adjust for the label. This is what you'll see here. And you'll notice that these are specific to projection labels because it's listed underneath projection. So if you want to use an expression for a projection label, you have to create it under projection. If you want to create it for a station label, it has to be under your stations. If you want to use it for a spot elevation, it's got to be under your spot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So this can only be used for these types of labels. It can't be used for any other type of label. All right. And again, these are the properties that are available. And then to the right of that are just like your functions, right? This is like Excel. Like I want to do something to these things, right? So what do I want to do? I want to get rid of that 600. So basically, I want to take the elevation and I want to subtract off 600. Well, I don't want to put in 600 because what happens if it's 590? Well, in that case, I want to subtract off 500. So we'll just go ahead and put in the source elevation minus, and then we need to somehow get from that 610 the 600. Right? And so the way we're going to do that is we're going to divide it by 100, truncate it, and then multiply it by 100 again. And that's what we're going to subtract from the source elevation. All right, so I'm going to take the source elevation again, and I'm going to divide it by 100. So this takes the 610 and makes it 6.1. I'm then going to truncate that. So I'm going to come back in front of this, and we'll use I think it's truncate. There we go, truncate, which basically just drops the decimal, that whole thing. And then we'll multiply that by 100 again. So we divide it by 100, truncate it, multiply it by 100, right? So divided by 100, we get 610, 6.10. Truncate it, we get 6. Multiply it by 100, we get 600. Now, down here is the way we want to format the results, right? So when you're putting a station value into a label, you get the option for the station marker, right? It's a plus symbol. And you get, when you're putting in a value for a slope, you get the rise over run or the percent, right? You get those types of options. So this is telling Civil 3D what type of value this is. So in this case, it's simply going to be an elevation. All right, so the format results is important if you want it to look right. All right, I'll go ahead and select OK to that. And now I'm going to apply that to this label. So this is using the standard style. I know it's using the standard style because it's the only style that's being used because it's the only one that has the little yellow triangle there. So I'm going to come over here to the layout and we'll go to the projection text and the source elevation. Instead of using source elevation, we're going to use that truncated elevation. That's the one we just created. I'll change it to the 10th of a foot. Go ahead and hit the silly little unlabeled white arrow that I constantly forget to hit. And you can see now it says 10. And if we move this, let's go grab, oh, I still have the block selected, excellent. So if I go back into my properties and I make that elevation of 590, you can see it now says 90. So this is one place where you can use expressions. You can use them as data in the label itself, but we can also use it to change things about a label. Right? A perfect example is a slope label. I'm not sure how this one is set up. Let's find out. So if I come up here to surface, label styles, slope, you can see we've got these different slope labels. And let's go ahead and turn a surface on. I'm sure there's a surface in this drawing somewhere. I'll set that to 1 and 5 design. Perfect. So I've got this surface in here and I need to label it. So I'll just go ahead and annotate, add labels, throw in a slope label, surface, slope, and I'll just do a 2-point label. So we use %, sure. I'll select this surface. I want to label, I'm going to do a 2-point label. I want to know what the slope is from here to here. And then I also want to know what it is from here to here. So as you can see, the arrow is pointing in the direction that we picked the points. I want it to point in the direction that it flows. And you need to start putting some questions in the Q&A, people. Seriously, come on.
I was just getting ready to say that. I was waiting to not interrupt you.
Yeah, come on. Let's get some questions in there, folks.
We only have one from Robert, so.
Yep. I always want this to point in the direction of flow, and I want the value to be the magnitude of the slope. Right? So this one is correct as far as the way I want the text to look, but the arrow is pointing in the wrong direction because this is pointing up. This one's correct in the direction the arrow is pointing, but the text has a negative sign. I always want that to just point in the direction of the slope. So I'm going to go create an expression for this. I'm just going to create one because I don't have to do it for the text. All right, so we'll come up here to slopes. Again, because I'm creating an expression for this label, it has to be listed under there. So I'll create a new one, and I'll just call this one grade check. All right, description, it'll flip the arrow if it's pointing uphill and it'll make it point downhill. And the expression, we're going to use a test. So I'm going to come over here to my functions and I'm going to choose if. And what are we doing? Well, if the slope is negative, it's pointing downhill, the arrow is pointing in the correct direction. If slope is positive, it's going uphill, and I need to rotate that arrow 180 degrees so it points downhill. So if the surface slope is less than 0, so it's negative, then I want to return a value of 0 and explain what the 0 is here in inlet. Otherwise, comma, I want to return a value of 180 degrees. Well, this is going to be measured in radians, so we need to put in pi degrees. Or, sorry, pi radians. And that's the expression we're going to use. So if it's pointing downhill, I'm going to get a value of 0. If it's pointing uphill, I'm going to get a value of 3.14159. It's going to rotate it around, so it's downhill. And the format result, this is just a number. I'm not going to display this in any label, so I'm just going to leave this as a double. Now, I'm going to go into my %, choose edit, and I'm going to use that expression that will rotate the arrow for the rotation of the arrow. So here's the rotation angle. Right now you can see it's set to 0 degrees, but because I have expressions that are available, I can hit the little pull down and choose the expression. I select OK, and you can see they're now pointing in the direction of flow. Now, I still want to drop the negative symbol. This is super simple to do. Right, you don't need an expression for this at all. You can just go into that label style composer. Here's the surface slope. And for the sign, you can just simply say, I want to drop the sign. I don't want a sign. And yes, see, I told you. I forgot to hit the stupid little unlabeled white arrow. Want to drop the sign, hit the silly little unlabeled white arrow, and there it is. And so as this label gets modified, you can see the slope goes up, it's still going down, and as soon as it starts going up, the arrow flips around, but the text is always positive because it goes in the direction of flow. So those are a couple of examples of expressions that I'd like to use. I know we've covered this in the past, but I always love expressions. They're so much fun. And again, if anybody has any way of getting that distance from a sample line for a projected object, I'd love to hear it.
And Sean stepped up, put in a couple more questions, so we can probably jump onto the questions. One of them I think might take you a little bit of time, so I think we'll be good. All right, so Robert came up very early on, so thank you, Robert. Is there a way to have a pressure pipe and its encasement pipe tied to the pipe run alignment?
The pressure pipe and its encasement tied to the pipe run alignment.
In short, I can't think of anything. And the reason is because the pipes themselves make up that pipe run. And if you have a double portion of the pipe, it's also going to want to control that vertical in the run itself. I don't think it is capable of doing so, because one pipe run cannot have multiple alignments controlling it.
Right. And a pipe run can't control multiple pipes, right?
Well, it can control multiple pipes, but not on top of each other, because
right. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So you can't have an alignment and profile. So a pipe run really is an alignment and profile, right? And that alignment and profile then drive the geometry of the pipe.
Correct.
But you can't have that alignment and profile drive the geometry of multiple pipes.
Well,
the same station.
Well, what it would do is an encasement. Normally, your pipe goes down the center of your encasement. But if you've got that pipe tied to the pipe run, your encasement pipe tied to the pipe run as well, it's going to assume the elevation of the vertical of your pipe run. So you will not be able to pleasantly put it dead center of what you're trying to encase. It'll either share the same top or the same invert based on what vertical you have identified.
Okay, can't you use the center of the pipe?
Pretty
sure you can.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think you can. Actually, then yeah, because I'm only.
How do you get multiple pipe runs on the same alignment and profile? That's the part I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I'm just not for sure if the same pipe in the same location and how that handles it. But yeah, you're right. You should be able to do it. I just never designed to the center of the pipe. I always designed to the top of the pipe because we're always worried about clearance.
Right.
And use the pipe structure and use them as chambers for pressure pipe equipment like valves. That's not me saying this. That totally came up in the Q&A pod.
Say that again.
Can use the pipe structure and use them as a chamber for pressure pipe equipment like valves.
I think this is a
different question.
Different question.
Okay.
I don't think this is a comment for this particular question.
Okay.
It's kind of the same topic.
Tom had something in there too. Could a line be set coincident with the pipe run, and then the encasement pipe structure be set to coincident with the end points of the pipe?
Well, the other thing is you don't have to have the encasement attached to the pipe run. It can be by itself. Matter of fact, you could create a pipe run and then remove the pipe run itself, and the pipe will remain in place. And then you can create new pipe runs around. It's not necessary to have a pipe run to get your pressure pipes to work.
Right. It's just a lot easier in most cases.
Yeah,
but I think the question is,
it's actually a hindrance.
I think the question is if I edit the pipe, can I automate the editing of the encasement with it? I think that's really the fundamental ask here. All right, so I'm doing a design. I'm editing the elevations of this pipe. I want the encasement to move with it. And I can't think of a way to do that.
I mean, you could try it. You could create a quick pipe run and then create two pieces of pipe on top of it and see if it would hold that edit.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what's your yeah, sounds like a job for Dynamo. Yeah. Uh, I mean, if you do it with the center line, that may be the saving grace.
So when you create the pressure pipe, you can specify a reference alignment, but you can't specify a reference profile. You can do a reference surface, but you can't do a reference profile. But you can create a surface profile to follow, but
Oh, it'll create its own profile once you
right. So perhaps, and this is just going wild here, you have, so again, your pipe run is an alignment and a profile. Can you use that profile to create a corridor that creates a surface that you can then reference for the encasement?
yeah.
It sounds like a really backwards way of doing
It's a
this.
it's a really bad idea also because whenever you change your profile, whenever you change your pipes and you add stuff, it's going to change the alignment to match, and then that's going to change your corridor stationing, and then that you just got a wonderfully bad domino effect there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
your corridor is tied to stationing. It no
Yeah, but I'm
moving.
not referencing the corridor by station. I'm just creating a surface from it, and then my pipe network is referencing that surface.
Right, but you would have to then if you change your pipe, you change that alignment in any way, shape, or form, you're going to have to redo your corridor per the stationing of where that encasement's supposed to be. So you'll have to go back and manually adjust.
No, no, because it's going to be the same. Because we're just looking for cover, right? So
No,
I basically set my encasement pipe to have a cover of 0, and then I create my corridor that goes up to the top of the encasement, and that's where the surface is
right, but how are you telling it where to create this corridor?
from the alignment in the profile.
Uh-huh. And if your alignment gets longer,
The
what does
corridor
it
gets
do?
longer.
The corridor, if the beginning
I
of
don't know.
your
It's just a thought.
yeah, if your corridor starts at 10 plus 0, 0, or if your alignment starts at 10 plus 0, 0, and then you take the front of it and you stretch it to
Like
the
this one.
left instead of to the right. So if you take your corridor or your alignment and you lengthen it and do it on the front. Yeah, do it on the front end. Now
Yeah, so
read.
you would just need a so yeah, if you lengthen your
Uh-huh. See how it
you
moved
would
the
just need
corridor to it's snapping it and holding it to the front. Well, that's what it's going
yeah,
to do with your
that's fine.
encasement corridor, is what I would call it.
That's fine. You would just need to grab your quarter and say go all the way.
Right. You would have to do an adjustment. So that's not
Yeah.
automatic. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
being very, very meticulous.
Pragmatic.
Automation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. You're right. It's not 100% automated for sure. But if you're just changing elevations, it should work. Maybe.
Yes, I would agree
It'd
with
take a
that.
lot of testing.
It is a way.
I
It is a way.
I was just spitballing there. But yeah, I can't think of any way to automate that
But also,
easily.
to the answer to the question, I can't see anything bad that would occur from that. So it would be definitely a viable solution.
What would be really nice, and I think everybody should go up on the
Because I've
um,
seen, but there's been
Autodesk.
posts where they show you how to do pipes via surface generation. So you generate a surface that's the bottom part half of the
Mhm.
pipe and a surface that's the top half of the pipe.
So what we should have is the option for encasement here.
Uh,
That
yep.
would be just perfect.
Well, it's just like Revit. If you can add insulation to a pipe, why can't we do this in Civil 3D? It's the same program. It's called Autodesk, right? All right, everybody, you're hearing it. Send in a request. Go.
Yeah.
So, Robert, did that completely confuse you, or did that help you out
I
there?
think I confused myself on that one.
AI can do it. Oh, come on.
All right. Shall we go to the next one?
Well, we'll go to that one that I said because Robert has actually Yeah, Robert said it just took him back to where he started. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he was looking at. So we'll go back to the question that I asked earlier. Can we use pipe structure and use them as chamber for pressure pipe equipment like valves? Robert did have an answer over there saying, I've been inserting a pipe structure at the water valve location. It is not tied to the pressure pipe, but just have to add to profile.
Yeah, you could do that. So basically the question is hey, we got this water line equipment. Maybe there's some sort of a bypass or something going on our water line, and we need to put this in a vault or a structure of some sort. How do we do that with a pressure network? And you wouldn't. Um, you could use a pipe network, like a catchment for a pipe network, which is basically a vault in a lot of cases because they got to strut the height, the width, the wall thickness, um, and then just display that in the profile. You can also just do like a 3D solid because you can display a 3D solid in a profile. That might be an option as well. Just use an AutoCAD 3D solid. Um, I had somebody ask me, he's like, "Oh, we're going to be doing this steel pipe, and it's going to have all of these different bend angles in it. How do I create all these custom bend angles for the steel pipe?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I'll show you how you can create all these different things." And he came back and was like, "Oh, I just did a sweep along the feature and the 3D polyline. We're going to call it good because we can section that in section views and profiles and whatnot." I'm like, okay. So you can do 3D solids in there as well. So for example, if I do, there it is. Let's see, let's do a box that goes from there to there, about that high. So this is um, use model viewer, right? So you can see it's just this 3D solid thing. And then I should be able to project that into this profile view. Project objects, or is it, yeah. Select the objects. I can select that 3D solid. And then you would want to make sure you set your style appropriately. And I think the way the style needs to be set up is we want to do it as a section, right? Let's set it to section. And apparently it's down at elevation 0. Oh, there it is. And there's the section of it. So you could do that as well. So that's an option. The only drawback is it's not tied to the water line, but if you used a pipe network structure, it wouldn't be tied to the water line either. But I would not try to create a pressure network part that represents the vault. That just sounds terrible to me. So, all right, what else we got, Brian? So
Got a
hopefully,
question.
yeah, if that didn't answer your question, let us know.
Yep. A question from Sean. Would you go over an example where you have used grading optimization? How has it helped you in your earthwork calculations?
I really haven't used the grading optimizations much. Have you used them, Brian?
Nope, because I'm perfect my first time through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why are you guys laughing? I wasn't joking. The criteria is there for some good stuff if you're looking for precise volumes to get them, but the the WAG stuff that we do, anyways. I mean, they always bring stuff up. I mean, it's great for a first shot, but most of the time, I'm not finding myself being able to utilize it as much. But it's getting better and faster. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to drop y'all. But everybody have a great Christmas and
All right.
Happy New Year. And yay. All right.
See you, Brian. Thanks for joining
Hey,
us.
Brian.
Bye all.
But yeah, as far as like the grading optimization goes, I think it's great for that first run type of stuff, just to get you an idea of what you need. It's not going to be the end all be all, but it should get you close to what you need. So, all right. So, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for that one.
Sean, I have another question. Project Explorer tab When do you use that and how it helps you? Could you cover an example for that as well?
Yeah, so the Project Explorer, so just on the Home tab, Project Explorer here, it just gives you a new insight into the data, and you can edit it here, right? So let's say, for example, this profile, and then it's also modeless, so you can throw it off on your second monitor if you want to. Can I make this a little bit smaller?
Yeah, you should just go ahead and do that right now. Throw it on the second monitor.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's take a look at this profile here. All right, so I need to make some changes to a bunch of profiles. So if I'm not using Project Explorer, I select the profile, go to the profile, the geometry editor, and then I bring up not that one, this one here, the grid view, and I can make the change. And then I need to go to another one, so I'll go repeat the process. Whereas if you're using Project Explorer, I can just select the profile here, make the change, and then come over here to the next one and make the change here as well, right? So over here we have the PVIs, and I can come in. Is the right profile? I don't even know if it's the right profile. Layout 2. No, sorry. Oh, there we go. So I can change, say, for example, the elevation of this one. So instead of 646, it's not letting me change it. That's interesting. I just made a liar myself. Apparently, you can't change those. Why would you not be able to? You change this here? No. Fascinating. You should be able to change this stuff, in my opinion. One place that I have seen it also used is in pipe networks. So we don't have any pipe networks in this drawing. But I've seen people use it for swapping parts. You can swap multiple parts using a Project Explorer. So that comes in really handy. It's just another way of accessing the data. It's not the end all be all, in my opinion. It's just another way of doing it. Well, but again, it's modeless, so you can continue to work in the drawing while it's open, which is really handy.
Great for wall design with feature line using compare to existing surface is what Brian said.
Yeah. All right, where are we going next?
Since we're on interface stuff, let's just continue. How about showing how to change the path value of the tool palette path within a Lisp routine? For example, I want to add a user-specific folder at the top of the tool palette list.
Ooh, we can do that. That's exactly how we do things here at GEI. So the way we do things for my GEI tools here, my symbols. If I come over here to my design symbols, it brings up my tool palettes for me. And what you'll notice is there are only these palettes available. I don't have the option to change the tool palette groups. This is it. If I switch over to, say, for example, my explorations line work, again, these are the only palettes I don't have access to all of my symbols on my tool palettes. I have to go through my tools up here. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to be able to add new tool palettes without having to reset people's profiles. And so the way we do this, let's see if I can find the Lisp. We'll go into the VLide here. So if you're not familiar with VLide, I got that Lisp up right now. Nice. This is the Visual Lisp Integrated Design Environment, VLIDE. It's a great way to write Lisp routines. And so what we do is we say if you pick one of these buttons, it'll recall this with the tool palette number and the tool palette path, right? And so basically, the numbers here tell us which tool palettes we're going to use, and then it goes through. So it sets the tool palette path. So if this has a 1 in it, then it's going to choose this path. So that goes to the custom tool palettes. If it has a 2 in it, then it goes to the GEI general. If it has a 3 in it, it goes to this one. And then if it already had something in it, it just appends it, right? So if the tool palette path already had a value in it, so let's say I returned it, I do this with a 1 and a 3, it's going to put in this, right? And now if it already has that in it, it's going to append it with a semicolon. If it doesn't, then it's just going to add it. And these are just the paths. Now, remember if you're working in Lisp, a forward slash is 2 backslashes. So just got to remember that annoying thing, right? And then once I've built up the lists of the paths, it's down here at the very bottom. We just use the command *_ tool palette path, and then I put in all of those paths. So if you just wanted to use a Lisp routine to add another path, you would need to get the current lists of paths, add your path to the beginning, and then push it back in. And that's how you can do it. So
Tom,
kind of an overview, not getting into it too deep, but you basically just build up the lists of paths you want and then use this tool palette path.
So Tom, hopefully that answers your question.
I think Tom might have already known how to do that. I think he was helping us fill time. But it's a good question. Thank you, Tom.
So next question comes from Sid. Do you use quarter transitions to model the transition between a drive pad section and your typical quarter section? If so, can you demonstrate?
I'm not sure what a drive pad section is. So maybe if you could expand on that a little bit, Sid, just because different parts of the country use different terminology for different things.
It's the pad that the motorcycles drive on.
Right.
And if you're up north, it's the pad the snowmobiles drive on. The snowpack. Driveway pad.
A driveway pad. Oh, okay. So like okay, perfect. So yeah, you absolutely can do that. I wouldn't, but you could. Because you would have to put in a transition for each one. And then if the design of the drive changes, you'd have to go in and adjust those transitions. So I probably wouldn't use a transition. It depends upon how detailed you need to get with it. Let's see, let me open up a different drawing here. I think this one might have curb and gutter. I don't remember exactly, but we'll find out. If not, I can add it real quick. Don't think it does. It does. Okay, cool. So it does have curve, it just doesn't have a daylight. All right, that's fine. So another thing you could do is you can put in a conditional subassembly. Right, so we'll put this on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go to now, again, back to the whole tool palette thing. Because of the way we change our tool palettes, our Civil 3D tool palettes aren't available all the time. So I had to create a unique way of bringing up our Civil 3D tool palettes. So this is not how you would do it in your office. This is how we have to do it here at GEI. But anyways, so anyway, you would bring up your tool palettes, and then where there are the conditional palettes, and the one that I'm going to look at is this conditional horizontal target. So basically what this says is it says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to test. I'm going to shoot out, and if I can target this thing, typically like a polyline, then I'm going to apply this thing. If I can't, then I'm going to apply this other thing. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and throw in this horizontal target here, and I'm just going to put it here at the end of the lane. So you can see that's set to target found. And then we can put in another one. It's been a really long time since I've done these, but I should be able to do it again. And one of these we will set to target not found. Target not found. There we go. All right, and then this curb and gutter will go. So I'm basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a line where the drives are. So when it can't hit the line, that means there's no drive there. So we're gonna move that to the target not found. Right, and when there is a drive, we're gonna put in a different curb. So I'll copy that here, and then we would modify this. I don't even know if this one's modifiable to get what I want it to. Find out. But say, you know, I want that to be 1 inch. Now maybe not that. We set that back to 7. Dimension C would be 2 inches. I'm just trying to do something different here. The 4 inches. I'm trying to do. There we go. Right. And so now I kind of have this drive over type of a curb and gutter. Right. And I changed them both. God damn it. Let me just throw in another curb and gutter here real quick. Curbs. There we go. Okay, so where it's not finding the target, it's going to put in just a normal curb and gutter. Where it can find the target, it's going to put in the whatever your design is for the driveway. And that's on the right-hand side, which is the right side. So it's going to be on this side over here. So there's going to be a driveway right here. And there's going to be a driveway right here. And so now for this corridor, I can go into edit the targets. Edit the targets for this region. And it's going to be offset and elevation. And then we should have those conditionals. And those should set for, go ahead and select the polylines. And you can put these on a specific layer and just select it by the layer. And then I'll do that same thing for the other one. So I'm setting it for both the target found and the target not found. And then, I don't know if this is set to rebuild automatic or not. It is not. And now in this area, you can see the curb and gutter is different because this is where we have the driveway. And then out here, it's the standard curb and gutter. And then we get down to this one, it goes back to that funky one that I created, and then it goes back to the normal. And again, the nice thing about this is if the driveway moves, I can just move this line, rebuild the corridor. I don't know why I just didn't automatically rebuild. Why did that not work? That should have worked. I did something wrong, but that should have rebuilt it. So that's the approach I probably would take rather than trying to use the transitions. But you could use a transition if you really wanted to. It just seems like a lot of extra work in my opinion. All right, what else we got, Brian?
All right, Nathan asked a question. Is there a way to display the elevation of a gravity pipe and any location along the pipe in plan views?
So you want to know what the elevation of the pipe is right here, right? That's a good question. We might be able to do that through Project Explorer. At least get closer. Labels. You might be able to use a label. There's no way to like query it that I know of. But if we use a pipe label, the single part in plan, pipe label, we'll just create a new one. Call it whatever. Right, this label can adjust along the pipe. And we might be able to use an expression for the pipe label that will let us do that. I'm not positive on this though. Yeah, Tom said there are third-party apps that can do that. Enable styles, plan profile. There's my, see what kind of things we have for expression in here. So you can see pipes have just a ton of options for expressions. So we have the start invert elevation, we have the end invert elevation, and we just need to know if there's a way to get the distance from the label location to the start or the end. And if we could get that, then we could do it.
I feel like I recall you trying to do this before and it never worked.
Yeah. I just don't think we can get the location of the label relative to
Yeah,
the
Quinn has said he's
station.
tried to do the same thing, but he can't figure out how to obtain a label length along the pipe.
Yeah.
And Adam followed up with Red Transit has a tool that lets you label anywhere along a pipe. So
Yeah,
again,
there's definitely third-party
another
apps
added.
that let do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Red Transit makes some good stuff. So if that's something you need to do, I would look into the Red Transit. Steve does have quite a few free utilities. I don't know if that one's free or not, but there are quite a few free utilities that he has available. So it's worth looking into. You can just go into the App Store and look for it.
Yeah. See, Nathan said he's asked a question here a few years ago. I thought I remembered this question being asked. Just wanted to verify there was nothing new. It's like, man, I swore I remember this question coming up before.
All
Okay,
right,
so
wait.
Christopher asks, I've been looking for a way to get property set data on Kogo points into a dynamic table. And the best thing I've found so far is using a user-defined property. The hang up with the property set values into the user-defined property is period. Is Dynamo the best way to do this? Any other ideas that I could try?
So you've got property set data on Kogo points that you want to get into a table. All right, property sets. This is one of my weaker areas. So we'll go manage, define property sets. See if I can even remember how to do this. And then a new one. Call it point data. Applies to Kogo points. We'll call it selected dates. Okay. I'm going to delete that one. Will not put it selected date. I don't know. Just make something up here. Just put something in there. Okay, so now I have a property set that's applied to Kogo points. Question is, can we get that into a dynamic table? So we'll come up here to points. We should be able to get that into a label style. So if I create a new label style here, when I go to the layout, you can see there's property sets here and there's that collected date. So I can put that into a point label. Now the question is, can we get that into a table? So if we come over here to the data properties, we'll just add a new row for collected date. Column value is not listed as an option there, which is probably what you were seeing, Christopher, right? Dynamo would probably be the way to go for this. You could probably use Dynamo to create the table. But yeah, there's no way just to do it that I'm aware of.
And you create an expression for the PSD and then label that from there. But again, it's about getting it into a table.
Might work. Can you use property set data in expression? It doesn't look like you can use the
Guess not.
the property set data in the expression. It's a good thought though, Adam. I like that.
I have a question for you since
I
you are
wouldn't have been
talking about
surprised if it was an option there, but it apparently is.
since you are
And I
talking
think one
about
of the reasons is, property set data can be text as well, and you can only use numbers in an expression. So I guess that makes sense.
so when you add a property set definition to something, how does that data get seen by programs other than Civil 3D? I ask this because I deal with a lot of projects where Civil has to, deliver an intelligent model with data for the building owners. How do you get that custom property set definition to something that somebody else can see?
So I know if you open up the Civil 3D project in Navisworks, That is definitely visible there.
Okay.
And then I think you can export out of Navisworks to whatever format you need,
Yeah, and
and
Adam
that
says
should
export to
go along
IFC.
with it.
That was just a curiosity for me
Export to
because we see it all
IFC.
the time, and I get civil engineers going, "Well, we can't add property to things." I'm like, "Well, you can add property set definitions." And that's the only three words I know.
Yeah, Adam said you can export that to IFC as well.
Cool. I was just curious. 'Cause I think a lot of them are taking them into like ArcGIS, right? They're taking in some database where they want that data to go into the database for the
Right.
facilities people.
Yep.
All right, we're technically at the bottom of the hour, but we have two questions, so we'll see. They seem fairly quick. Quinn asked, I recently transitioned my company to Autodesk Docs and wanted to ask, is anyone maintaining backups for disaster recovery? If so, what methods are you using?
So that's a great question. That's a question that we're struggling with here at GEI because we're starting to have more of our projects up on ACC, and IT was like, "Yeah, but we don't have control over that data." I'm like, "Okay." So we need to figure out some way of doing that as well. Adam says just a lot of crossed fingers. I love it. Um,
I think it's even a bigger problem when, for what I was just talking about, I've seen a lot of building owners using the Autodesk cloud. So once they decide to kick you off, you're definitely losing that data, right? If it's your own Autodesk cloud, I don't think you're going to have issues of it totally going away. There's a backup for every single time you hit save.
right.
But when it's on somebody else's cloud, ACC, that's the bigger question in my mind.
Well, is that where bridges can come into play? So you have your own cloud, your own account where you're doing your work, and you bridge a folder from yours into their project so that they can have access to it. And then when they shut their stuff down, you still have yours, right?
Yeah, so it depends. It depends two ways because one problem is if you're talking about live linking, then every time somebody saves, I want to see that data. Bridge only does it, at least in the Revit world, when somebody publishes a model.
Right,
So, but you could do the inverse, is bridge from their project onto yours. You just have to have a project admin on ACC set up that bridging for you.
right.
And I
So
have
so
done
that would
that
be
for
one
I
way
have
of
done that for a couple clients. Like, cool, you want it on your own ACC? We'll set up a bridge. It's not a big deal, or looks like it's pretty working pretty well also.
yeah. So that would be it's on somebody else's.
Yep.
But what about it's on my own? How do we disaster recover that? If Autodesk all of a sudden goes, yeah, I'm sorry, we're not in business anymore.
I can't
Whoops.
imagine that would ever happen legally with all of the data they have, but
Right.
I
But
mean, it's backed up on so many clouds on so many different things in the world. It's a better backup system than anything I bet any company has internally.
true. I agree, but our IT department is concerned with data sprawl, having data in this service, in this service, and in this service, and in this service. They all want to keep it together in the B drive, which
So,
is on
so what
somebody
we've
else's cloud.
seen is with Desktop Connector, you can see all the files through there. So we've
Mhm.
had people use a machine that's dedicated that Desktop Connector signs up to all of those, and then they're copying those files from Connector. So you don't even have to do it online through anything, but they're just using Desktop Connector and like RoboCopy to copy from this person's Desktop Connector, and this person, I mean, a phantom user who's assigned to the project onto their own internal server for backup purposes. So that's the best that I've seen.
Yeah,
But
it's
again, I
it's
mean,
it's one of
you're
those things. I think it comes down to if you want to have everything on one location, they might be able to automate something. Autodesk might have a tool to automate some stuff. Um, to regularly download your cloud to the B drive or whatever access point your IT department says it should be on. But yeah,
yeah. And there's I know like in the Revit world, ID8 has some tools for that, but I also know BIM out of Australia. They have some tools that'll be like, hey, cool, copy everything on a daily, weekly, whatever basis to your server as well. So there's a lot of tools out there. So I know behind the scenes, is it called the Forge platform anymore? Is it the Autodesk freaking, I don't know. There's ways to build that onto ACC Hub. Again, the problem with that is if that's not your hub, you can't have those tools put onto it. So that's
right.
why some firms have just been saying, cool, we're going to buy a BIM Collaborate Pro license for Phantom User A, and the Phantom User A will then allow me to get assigned to those projects. We assign those projects to Desktop Connector, and then we just use RoboCopy to do that. Ooh, I
Right.
don't know. What is this, Chris? What is this ART tool?
So, all right. I guess we got one final question from Robert.
Yep. And Robert's
Chris,
question was, if
maybe
you're going to
expand
be
on
in,
the art tool a little bit.
yep, why, Chris types. If you're going to be installing 26.2, do you use a custom deployment with custom support folders, path, blah, blah, blah? Or how does one set up custom deployment?
So when we create our deployment, we don't customize the deployment other than what applications get installed. All right. So when you go to the manage.autodesk.com, is it gonna make me sign in again? No, it's not. Sweet. It's just being really slow. So products and services, you can go to the custom install and you can create a custom install. But basically what this does is it says, hey, I want Civil 3D and raster design and vehicle tracking and Revit and Inventor. And these are the programs that I want to install all at the same time, right? And so this is what this does. I don't mess with paths or anything like that because all of those paths are just stored in a profile, right? So if you go into your options, let's make this a little bit smaller here. Profiles, you can see we have the GEI metric and the GEI imperial profiles. And these are what set all of your support file paths, your plot style paths and everything. So when you launch CAD, you would launch it using that profile. So you would install the software using that deployment thing, and then you would also have a profile. And then your shortcut, so let me see. All right, so your profile, your shortcut here, if you right click on it and go to your properties, I wish I could make these bigger, but the target, let me just go ahead and copy this and I'll throw this into Notepad. Oops.
I think they'd escape on that because you didn't just change your shortcut.
Yeah. Right. So this is that path for the shortcut. So let me bring that back up. Properties. All right. So that's the target. And so basically it's saying, hey, I want you to run this program. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, but then this /P, that is the name of the profile that you want to use when you double click this shortcut. And so we do something similar. It's a little different here at GEI, but it's the same concept. When we launch Civil 3D, we launch it using that specific profile, and that profile sets all those paths for us. So that's the approach we take.
And there's a few follow-ups on that. Yes, the profile can be located on the server for sharing to everyone. And the LD in that list routine was loading a module file.
Okay.
And that,
yeah,
you're
that's all the
6 minutes
questions.
past.
Awesome.
You're better than I usually am, but you're still past the bottom of the hour. So
So yeah, that was a lot of good questions. Thanks, everybody.
yeah.
And we'll just have to give Brian a hard time for jumping off early next our next one.
And thank you, Chris, for letting us know that that's called the Autodesk replication tool.
Okay, yeah, we're definitely gonna have to take a look at that one. Autodesk replication tool. And it sounded like it was in a tech preview, right? Is that what you
It
said?
sounds like it's in a preview totally. I clicked on it and it said you don't have rights, so might have to go through the beta to get it signed up for that. But
All right.
definitely want to look
Awesome.
into that.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. I'll be posting this up to my YouTube channel if you really want to watch it again, or maybe share it with somebody that didn't get a chance to see it. That's probably more likely what will happen. But yeah, thanks for everybody coming, and we'll see you all next time. Have a happy holidays and take care.
Thanks, everyone.